Hello and welcome to Runkle of the Bailey. My name is Ian Runkle. I'm a Canadian criminal defense and firearms lawyer. Today I want to talk about Kouri Richins. And if you're not familiar with her, she's the woman whose husband died of an overdose. She wrote a book about how to deal with grief intended for children. She did sort of the talk show circuit as the grieving wife. And now she is facing charges because it's alleged that she murdered her husband by intentionally dosing him with a lethal dose of opiates. Now, the prosecution's case seems pretty strong. There's a bunch of details. He suspected her of attempting to kill him before. There's a bunch of issues regarding how she dealt with money. There's a bunch of issues there. But one of the critical things is that they've got the apparent cooperation of someone who says that they sold her the drugs. So that's a really serious issue, especially because the timelines match up with issues where he'd gotten sick before, he'd suspected that she'd done something to him. It really doesn't look good for her. But I said at the time that I thought that there was still hope that she still might have a hope of an acquittal. And I said the argument she's going to have to make is one of he got the drugs himself, or he was an addict on his own and she provided the drugs, but she didn't intend to kill him. She just was helping him with his addiction. That was what I said was her argument. And today I'm going to say that I am predicting it's a virtual certainty she gets convicted, that she has eliminated that defense. And I'm going to talk about why. So, as is very common, the thing that is really going to cause her trouble here is that she can't keep her mouth shut. Over and over and over, defense lawyers will tell you, keep your mouth shut. Don't talk to anyone. And that includes the police, but it also includes anyone who isn't your lawyer, because anyone that you talk to who isn't your lawyer, it has the potential to get back to the court. And even things you think are going to help you can really hurt you. In her case, she wrote a letter, and that letter is now the focus of some motions, some additional litigation. So the prosecution has brought this motion. They're asking for relief, and the relief they're asking for is they want to ban her from having any contact with her mother and her brother because they're saying that she wants to engage in witness tampering. And I'm going to say this is the beginning of the problems that this letter is going to cause her. But this is not the main event. This whole thing of wanting to ban her from talking to her family members is really just the preview. Because the big problem she has is the content of the letter itself and the fact that it's going to be tendered at her eventual trial. When she tries to run a defense, they're going to tender this letter and they're going to use it to absolutely shred her. So let's have a look at the letter. So it starts off with walk the dog, but take vague notes so you remember. Now, Sky, they mention here, is her lawyer. So this is her lawyer. And so Sky is saying, even if the gummies have fentanyl in them, the prosecutor will say, I tried to put the fentanyl in the gummies, so Eric would have them. Stupid, I know, but that's what she's thinking. We will still test them, though. Now, here's the problem. She's putting in writing stuff about what her lawyer is saying. That's a bad idea. The only person you should be talking to about what your lawyer's strategy is with your lawyer. But, so she mentions her private investigator is doing some research and so forth. And then she goes on to say, here's what I'm thinking, but you have to talk to Ronnie. He would possibly have to testify to this, but it's super short, not a lot to it. He will need to tell Sky at the meeting next week. She wants to feed a story to Ronnie to then pass along to her lawyer. If I was her lawyer, I would fire her as a client as of immediately, because now you can't trust anything she says or any corroborating evidence. So, upon information and belief, just like they say, a year prior to Eric's death, Ronnie was over watching football one Sunday, and Eric and Ronnie were chatting about Eric's Mexico trips. Eric told Ronnie he gets pain pills and fentanyl from Mexico from the workers at the ranch. Not to tell me, because I would get mad, because I always said he just gets high every night and won't help me take care of the kids. There are pictures in my phone of Eric passed out on the floor or in the chair. Ronnie should have texts from Eric talking about him getting high as well. So she's suggesting this narrative that needs to be passed along. And she goes on for other details, saying that when they traveled, Eric would put his drugs in Kouri's bag at the airlines right before they boarded. That way, if they were caught, Kouri got in trouble, not him. Once they got to wherever they were going, Eric would pull the drugs out of her bag, and it would cause a huge fight. She was pissed he would risk her going to jail for his drug use. He would just laugh about it. Eric couldn't ruin his image that he had drug issues, so he would do what he had to. Kouri has never done any type of pills, didn't like them. Rarely would she consume THC, only if Eric begged her because it was a special occasion. And then she says, reword this however he needs to make the point. Just include it all. The connection has to be made with Mexico and drugs. Ronnie will have the messages to prove Eric confided in him about getting high. It can be short and to the point, but it has to be done. So she's providing this narrative about like what this guy needs to testify to, and is telling her mother to feed this story to him. Now, one of the things you could say is, what if this is true? Like, what if this is accurate? Well, this is going to go in front of a jury, and what the jury is going to get out of this is that her mother was coached to provide a fake statement. And what that's going to mean is that if Kouri gets up to testify, it's going to be worth nothing. If Kouri's mother gets up to testify, it's going to be worth nothing, unless the mother is throwing her under the bus. If the mother testifies to something that hurts her, the jury's likely to believe that. But if they come to the defense, and especially if the argument that they're making is this argument that is detailed in these letters, because if you see that, you're just like, oh, right, there is no truth to this. It is just something you made up. And so this is really, really bad. The worst aspect of the letter isn't this motion, it's what it will do when they put this in front of a jury. Don't talk to, when defense lawyers say don't talk to anyone, that includes, your family. That includes your friends. That includes other people at the jail. And that includes writing things down. Just all of this is so, so detrimental. And I thought she had an argument to make. I don't think she can swing it anymore. And I think she is in panic mode because we have also found out that there are some new details since this letter was released. And it only makes things worse. Apparently, after this letter was discovered and they're trying to, bring this motion, Kouri Richins goes and has contact with her mother. She has a call from the jail on Saturday. And in this call, rather than saying, hey, I was only just trying to tell the truth, you understand that this is just me. All of this is true. I just wanted to make sure that the truth comes out, which might have been useful, except that it would have been hard to actually get that into evidence. Instead, what she tells her mother is that the letter is an excerpt from a fictional book she's writing about her staying in a Mexico prison. Which is weird because she's mentioning her dead ex-husband in it. She's mentioning her mother in it. She's mentioning her brother in it. That makes no sense to me. But now that recording is also going to be something that the prosecution can use against her. So, do you think the jury's going to believe that this was an excerpt from a fictional book? Because I certainly don't. Do you think the jury is going to, and moreover, this whole excerpt from a fictional book thing makes it very clear that the details described in this never happened, that they're fake. That's what a jury's going to read out of this. And the destructive impact on her ability to run a defense is immeasurable. So what we have instead is a prosecution who's got a pretty strong case out the outset. There were some potential holes in it. I think she's managed to patch those holes for the prosecution because there's just no way a jury will accept that line of argument now that it's been in this letter. So, I mean, I'm not going to feel bad because the signs, I mean, my interpretation of what's been released is that it's most likely that she killed her husband, but I can't say for certain. I wasn't there. But it is unbelievable. I'm sure that her lawyer is super upset about this, and I'm sure that the prosecution lawyers went out for drinks to celebrate. The other argument that's going to be made here is that apparently there's some dispute over where this letter was found. And the reason why this matters is that while you're in custody, they can search pretty much everything. They can search you, they can search your cell, they can search your stuff. The one exception to what they can't dig through is material that's for your lawyer, privileged material that you and your lawyer are having discussions on. So the argument that she's going to make and has apparently been making in court is that apparently they're saying that this letter was found in an envelope marked privileged for my lawyer. However, what the guards are saying is that it wasn't in such a letter or in such an envelope at all, that instead it was contained within an LSAT prep book. So if it's in an LSAT prep book, then there's no search issue here because there's no privilege aspects. Nothing in this letter suggests that it's addressed to his lawyer or to her lawyer. So I think this is I don't think that's going to fly, but we'll have to see. I mean, they've got recordings from the jailhouse apparently, so we'll see. I'm going to keep following this story, but right now I think it looks really bad for Kouri Richins. I'm also just going to say, it's kind of interesting that she's looking at an LSAT prep book because the LSAT is a test you take to get into law school. And there aren't really law schools in prison. It would be very unlikely that somebody who gets a life sentence in prison would ever go to law school. So this suggests a little too much optimism on her part. I mean, maybe you want to cross one bridge before you get there, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem likely to me that she's ever going to become a lawyer. Anyway, thank you for watching. I did have a lot of people who had a lot of questions about this one. I did read the letter in full on a live stream. I didn't want to do it in this video because it would just make the video really long. It's a long letter. But so check that out if you're interested in seeing the full letter being read. Let me know your thoughts. I mean, I think this one's pretty cut and dried now at this stage, but maybe you disagree. And if you do, I'd love to hear it. I really always love hearing well-reasoned competing or contradictory ideas. So thank you as well to my Patreon supporters at the $50 level: Lembus for the Elf, CCFR, Canada's National Firearms Association, and the Canadian Shooting Sports Association. At the $20 level, Lindsay Metcalf, Larry Kalniak, Here's a Coin Legal Witcher, Cameron Johnson, Andrew Elsich, Vicky, and Dorky Dane. Thank you as well to my $10 supporters who will be in the crawl immediately following. Thank you for watching. Hope this has armed you with knowledge. See you next time.